こんにちは。ハリケーンフットボールです。今回の教材は、サッカー日本代表に関する動画です。2026年の北中米ワールドカップの組み合わせはすでに決定し、日本代表は、グループ F でオランダとチュニジア、そしてUEFAプレーオフのチームと対戦します。今回はおなじみのDeadBall TV のジャックが、特にアジアの国が入っているグループについて、アジアの国が勝ち進める難易度をランク付けしています。日本の入っているグループ F については、日本が勝ち進みやすいという意味で、3番目に簡単だと言っています。今回は、韓国が入っているグループ A とグループ F について話している箇所を切り取っていますので、残りはオリジナルの動画でお楽しみください。実際にどのように話しているのか、チェックしてみましょ
う。The next group for me is South Korea in Group A. Again, very much parity in this group. South Korea could finish first, second, third, or fourth. They could win every game, 1-0. They could lose every game, 1-0. I think I would not place a bet on Group A. I would not place a bet on Group D. I would avoid those like the plague. They are ones that are crazy even. I think if you're South Korean, you can't be mad at this draw because everything's winnable, but at the same time, I mean, think about it. If South Africa is your easiest opponent in a group, you got at least a pretty tough draw, right? If that is the weakest team you're probably going to see here, you better be ready to rumble. And I think South Korea, I think they travel very well as a national team. I think playing in South Korea, it's a cesspool. The fans are upset. I don't think they play particularly well there. I think they'll play better in the States, like they did during the North American tour, than they would, were South Korea to host the World Cup. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I would actually back Korea to go further at an American-hosted World Cup than a home one right now. That's just how the team have performed. That's the vibe. That's the sense I get watching them play. And South Africa, this is a team with one of the longest unbeaten streaks in football. Now, unless they win the AFCON, which, oh my gosh, the scenes, dude. They knock out Morocco at the last AFCON. If they then go to Morocco and win the AFCON, probably warfare will be declared between the two countries. So for the sake of peace on earth, I hope that doesn't happen. But what a story, man. That'd be insane. Their streak will likely end before the World Cup. It'll probably be on penalties in the knockouts or something like that. Which now that I think about it, does that even count as a loss or is it a draw? Like, y'all let me know. Does a penalty shootout loss affect your unbeaten streak? I actually don't know what the legal definition is, so somebody needs to educate me in the comments. Then you have Mexico, who are the weakest of the CONCACAF hosts, and I don't think it's up for debate. Mexico is clearly worse than Canada and the United States, so that's a positive for South Korea. That's one of the reasons that I have South Korea above Australia's group, because the States are a harder host, a more difficult opponent than Mexico. We already saw Korea go blow for blow with Mexico recently in the 2-2 draw, and if you're taking 1 point from the pot one, guys, most teams are signing that contract. You're going to take that. And then you likely have Denmark. Could be somebody else, though. Similar to Austria, but a little worse, in my opinion. A firm Tier 2 European side. If y'all want a crazy stat, and this is why you need to smash the like button and hit subscribe, because you're not hearing this in other channels. 6 of South Korea's 7 wins at the World Cup all time are against European teams. Isn't that wild? I would have never guessed that. If you want to talk about the true nemesis of Korea at the World Cup, it's South American and African teams. That's who keeps beating their ass. It's not really the Europeans. They have a very close all-time record against Europe at the World Cup, and I think it's because of how South Koreans like to play, kind of like a European model, European play style. I think they're well suited to go up against those guys and not well suited to go against South America or against Africa. And they do have an African team here, and, we're going to see. That could be the game of the group stage, honestly. I'm going to say, due to the uncertainty of South Africa outside of the African continent, because these African teams never play anybody else, so we just simply don't know, and the weakness of Mexico, and I think the floppability rate of Denmark, that's not even a word, the probability of flopping for Denmark is relatively high since they already did it last time as well. I'm going to have this narrowly easier than Australia, but if you guys disagree, let me know in the comments. Next up here, Group F with Japan. Very strong European side that they will be playing in the Netherlands, but not invincible, and some managerial concerns. I don't really know anybody that likes Ronald Koeman. I don't really know anybody who likes Hajime Moriyasu either, but please don't get me started on that now. You also have Tunisia, who I think are probably slightly better than they were in 2022 in the last World Cup, but a type of opponent that Japan will be very comfortable, or I should say very familiar. Nothing's comfortable at a World Cup, but very familiar going up against. They're basically Oman, but like twice as good, is essentially Tunisia, or Syria twice as good. So I don't think Japan can take this game easy, but you also need to realistically believe they can win this game by 2 goals, 2-0, something like that. You just got to watch out for the counterattack, which is a concern for Japan, and I will talk more about Japan in a separate video. And then Poland, most likely, which would be a rematch of the 2018 game when Poland won 1-0. And I think they're a tier 2, a lower tier 2 European side, and I'm going to say point blank, Japan at this point in the country's footballing cycle simply must beat this team. There's no excuse. I don't want to hear about the size of the Polish. I don't want to hear about Lewandowski goal-scoring record. You are Japan. Your entire team is in Europe. If you can't beat Poland, if you can't beat any European team, I could have been Italy. If you can't beat any European team going through the play-in, at this point in the cycle, that is an embarrassment. That is unacceptable. You must win this game. So looking at this, Japan are, comment down below, are they favorites to win the group? Are they favorites to win the group over the Netherlands? Comment down below. If the answer's no, then certainly they're the favorites in 2 of these games. And I would say heavy favorites against both Poland and could be Sweden as well. Who else is in that? Slovenia, I think, Slovakia. Doesn't matter. They'll be favorites against whatever European play-in team it is, and Tunisia heavily. Less than 6 points here is unacceptable for Japan. I guess maybe if you drew the Dutch and drew Poland, maybe. I would say that was disappointing, though, in my recap video. You guys would see me rage out if that was the case. And I'm going to mention this because I don't know how I feel about it yet. Does Japan have the highest expectation of any team in this group? I've been doing this for every group. What are the other teams aiming for? What are the Netherlands aiming for? Quarterfinal, semifinal? What's Japan aiming for? Quarterfinal, semifinal? How many times have I said on this channel that Japan should be trying to make a semi? That is how good this team is. This is how good this group of players is. If that's true, and the Dutch are aiming for a quarters, maybe a semi as well, then maybe it's not incorrect to say that Japan has the highest expectations in this group, which is very scary because Japan, under expectations recently, hasn't been very good. But again, more on that later. I'll do an extensive Group F preview another day.
次は解説です。今回は普段使えるような便利な表現も多くありましたので、早速本日の解説をチェックしてみましょ
う。You better be ready to rumble.
ランブルは、基本的には雷や地響きのような低くて連続的な音が鳴る様子を表す動詞です。例えば、雷が遠くでゴロゴロと鳴っている時に使います。もう一つの意味としては、特にカジュアル、またはスラング的な場面で、乱闘や喧嘩、激しい試合などを意味します。映画やスポーツ実況、音楽の歌詞などでもよく見かける単語です。このようにランブルは、音と投稿という2つの意味を持ち、文脈によって意味が大きく異なるので注意が必要です。
You better be ready to rumble. You better be ready to rumble. I think playing in South Korea, it's a cesspool.
セスプーは、もともと遅いため、汚物タンクを意味する言葉ですが、現代ではそれ以上に比喩的な意味でよく使われます。例えば犯罪、汚職、ヘイト、誹謗中傷などが渦巻く場所を表現します。SNS や政治の世界、治安の悪い地域を否定的に批判する際に使われることが多いです。かなり強い言葉なので、丁寧な場面では注意が必要ですが、ネイティブが感情を込めて使うときには非常にインパクトがあります。日常英語では少し文学的、批判的なニュアンスを持つ言葉として知っておくと役立ちます。
I think playing in South Korea, it's a cesspool. I think playing in South Korea, it's a cesspool. We already saw Korea go blow for blow.
ブローフォブローは、もともと格闘技の場面から来た表現で、パンチの応酬、つまり、互角の戦いを意味します。ですが、今では議論や試合、ビジネスの交渉など、あらゆる競争的な場面で、互角にやり合うや、一進一退の攻防といった意味で使われます。例えば、両者一歩も引かない展開や、交互に攻撃し合うような状況にぴったりの表現です。非常に映像的でインパクトのある言葉なので、ニュースや実況、映画などでもよく耳にします。
We already saw Korea go blow for blow. We already saw Korea go blow for blow. If you want to talk about the true nemesis of Korea at the World Cup,
ネメセスは宿敵や最大の敵を意味し、特定の人物やチーム、 または抽象的な問題に対しても使えます。例えばスポーツの長年のライバルや、何度挑んでも倒せない相手などが、ネメセスとなります。また文語的には、天罰や報いとしても使われ、悪事への報復といった意味もあります。この単語は文学作品、映画、神話などにも頻繁に登場し、インパクトのある語感を持つ表現です。強敵や因果応報を象徴する言葉として覚えておくと便利です。
If you want to talk about the true nemesis of Korea at the World Cup, if you want to talk about the true nemesis of Korea at the World Cup, but not invincible and some managerial concerns.
インヴィンセブルは絶対に負けない、無敵のといった意味を持つ形容詞で、スポーツチームや軍隊、個人の精神力、あるいは信念の強さなどにも使われる言葉です。ニュースや実況、スピーチでは、無敵の王者や揺るがぬ決意など、強さや安定感を強調する場面でよく登場します。また文学や映画などで、ヒーローがインヴィンシブルと形容されることも多く、非常に力強い印象を与える言葉です。
But not invincible and some managerial concerns. But not invincible and some managerial concerns. And I'm gonna say point blank.
ポイントブランクは、もともとは銃をほぼゼロ距離で発射するという軍事的な意味を持つ表現でしたが、今では比喩的に、率直にズバリと遠慮なくといった意味でも広く使われます。特に人間関係や議論の場で、ごまかしなしに直接言うといったニュアンスを強調する際に便利です。彼女は私にズバリ言ったというような形で、日常会話でもよく登場します。シンプルですが、強い印象を持つ表現なので、状況に応じて使い分けましょ
う。And I'm gonna say point blank. And I'm gonna say point blank.
いかがでしたか？ジャックの話はいつも、日本に対する期待が高いことがよくわかりますが、今回も同様に感じました。もう挑戦者ではなく、対等に戦える前提で、優勝を口にすること以上に、本気でベスト8やベスト4に行けると言っているようにさえ感じます。それゆえに、今の日本が未だに期待を下回っているとさえ話し、まだまだ足りないと言っているようにも感じます。このグループで勝ち点6を得ることは、とても難しそうだというのが、保守的な弱気な見方ですが、スペイン、ドイツ、コスタリカ相手に6ポイントを得た事実からも、オランダには引き分けたとしても、他の2カ国には勝たないと期待外れと見るということでしょう。まだまだワールドカップは先の話のようにも感じますが、それはすぐにやってくる気も同時にしますので、ワールドカップ前の助走も楽しみながら、ワールドカップに向かいたいと思います。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。